Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a series review on The Sandman. So, before I head into my thoughts and feelings on The Sandman, I guess quick warning, quick disclaimer as you head into this video. I don't plan on having any sort of spoilers in this video. I think the less you kind of know about this show, the better. The intent of this video is just to give you guys an overall view of how I felt about this show, if I would recommend it to others, kind of just give you an idea and a flavor of this show if it would be the type of thing for you. But yeah, that being said, if you have seen the entirety of the show, by all means, please totally discuss spoilers down in the comments with me. I would love to have a conversation with you about this show. Yeah, share with me the things you love, the things that you might not have liked so much, whatever floats your boat. So yeah, let's get going. As I said, I will do my best just to stay away from spoilers as best I can. So let's get going. These are the things that you need to know about The Sandman. It is a 2-season series on Netflix. It is completely done at the moment. I don't think there is any hope of it coming back for like a 3rd season or like little spin-offs. You know, I think the world of The Sandman is possibly done, to the best of my knowledge from what I know so far. So yeah, only 2 seasons, unfortunately. And it is based off of the very popular comics by Neil Gaiman. Yeah, I have heard about these comics for like years and years and years at this point, and Sandman is one of those comics that has been in discussion and talks to be adapted into like movies, TV shows. There's been talks to get this adapted for a very, very long time. So yeah, when Netflix finally, you know, those first images finally started coming out for this show, it was like, well, finally. Yeah, let me also put this out there. I have never read the comics, you guys, okay? So as I am talking about this show, I am basing it totally on just my own experience with the show. I'm not basing it on the comics whatsoever. So this is the plot that you need to know heading into this show. The show follows Morpheus, the personification of dreams, who is captured in an occult ritual in 1916, and then he finally escapes in 2022, which is where this show starts. And so from there, he sets out to restore order to his realm called the Dreaming. So that's pretty much the plot of the 1st season. Obviously, I'm not going to give you the plot of the 2nd season. That would ruin, I think, the 2nd season, obviously. But yeah, that is kind of the essential plot of season 1, what to expect. So my overall feelings about this show, I really enjoyed this show, you guys. I did have some issues with season 1, I shall say. Not that I disliked season 1. I think my issues with season 1, I just didn't entirely understand it initially, I suppose. I think is kind of the thing. I didn't really understand what the show was kind of doing that 1st season because, like I said, I've never read the comics, and the comics, to my understanding, the comics are very, like, episodic. They're almost like this short story structure, and like vignettes, if you will. There's like little things that kind of happen, and sometimes they don't really connect. Now, yes, there are overarching arcs and character things and plot arcs and all that sort of good stuff, you know. So I think season 1, my initial kind of confusion was that I didn't understand kind of the balance that the show was going for, you know, that more episodic structure, if that makes sense. So I had my kind of minor issues with season 1, but for the most part, I really highly enjoyed season 1. I think it was kind of that little last chunk of episodes that weren't my favorite, but in hindsight, I feel like if I were to go back and rewatch season 1, I almost feel like I would appreciate season 1 better after the fact. Because yeah, now that I finished season 2, I feel like I need to go back and rewatch season 1 and maybe get a better appreciation for certain characters and certain arcs, if that makes sense. But yeah, like season 2, for instance, season 2 absolutely blew me away. you guys. And again, no spoilers, but yeah, that season absolutely blew me away. I was just so hugely impressed. It was a really highly emotional season. Season 2, I think, is the best structured of the seasons, to be honest. I think it has a really nice flow to it, a really nice balance. I think it's really strongly focused where it needs to be focused. Whereas I kind of felt like season 1, because once again, season 1 has a very episodic structure to it, and sometimes I felt like the focus was just kind of a little all over the place, and I didn't quite understand what it was doing and what it was going for occasionally, even though there were elements that I enjoyed, weirdly enough. It's hard to explain. But I do feel like season 2 was definitely much more my cup of tea. The tighter focus, especially like on our main character Morpheus. I like the stronger focus and balance, and the certain plot arcs and character arcs that were developing in season 2, whereas, like I said, I think season 1 was a little kind of sporadic and all over the place, which I think was intentional, most likely, because my understanding, again, that's kind of how the comics are. And what I find so appealing about this show, I feel like it is kind of just made for someone like me who is a nerd when it comes to all things history and literature and mythology. I just love all of those things, you know, that wonderful combo. And this show is just so rich in that exploration. This show deals a lot with history and historical events and historical people. It deals a lot with mythology, especially like Greek mythology. You guys, the sheer amount of characters from Greek mythology that pop up in this show is simply outstanding, and I was always like, wow. And then, yeah, on top of that, like, just a lot of like literary references, literary characters, like Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream is like a big deal on this show, you know? So this show is just such a wonderful blend of history and mythology and literature, and I am just an absolute nerd when it comes to all three of those things. So I think this show, it's going to appeal to a certain type of audience, I guess, because I have seen a lot of reviews about this show where people will kind of just dump and gripe all over the show, and they call it pretentious and over its head and whatnot, and I don't think that's entirely fair. You know, I never really felt like this show was pretentious in any way. It is a deep show. You know, it is an incredibly deep show. It's not the type of show that you can just sit in the background and have it play, and then you're sitting there doing like your homework or something, or doing chores while you're listening to it. It's not the type of show that you listen to. It's definitely the type of show that you have to be really 100% invested in and paying attention to, because again, this wonderful blend of literature and history and mythology, the world building of this show is expansive, you guys. It is huge. It is expansive. The lore is so in-depth and intense, and if you're not paying attention to those details, you are going to get confused. You are going to get overwhelmed. And yeah, does that make this show pretentious? You know, I mean, I don't really understand that complaint about the show, about this being a pretentious show. I honestly never really felt like it was pretentious. Yes, I have definitely seen some shows that are pretentious, and I would not classify this show as a pretentious type of show whatsoever. And this show is just, it's so whimsical and bizarre, you guys. It's the type of show, it's so hard to explain what this show is. You just kind of have to go into it and experience it and make up your own mind and opinions about it, because it's really bizarre and whimsical. I think the show has this really nice balance of having these episodes that are like really gloomy, but then also having these moments that are really colorful and vibrant, but still make sense, you know? The gloom and the vibrancy, it's like two extremes on this show sometimes, but when done well, it works incredibly well and makes sense within the kind of structure and confines of what's presented in this show. Now, I do have one little minor complaint, I suppose, with this show, if I had to kind of branch out and come up with something else that was a little frustrating. So here's the thing with season 1 and season 2, because as I have already mentioned, this show is very episodic in nature, and sometimes there might be moments and characters that don't really have anything to do with anything. but they're still part of the universe, and they're still part of establishing and building up the lore and the world building. And at the very end of season 1, there are 2 bonus episodes, I guess is how you should call it. And then even at the end of season 2, there is 1 additional bonus episode. This is how I would watch this show, you guys, because I'm kind of frustrated with the bonus episode of season 2, for instance. Again, not spoiling anything, but I was kind of really frustrated that there was a bonus episode in season 2, because there's 12 episodes. There's 12 episodes in season 2. The show, the main bulk and story, the character arcs and whatnot, the major bulk of the show ends in episode 11. And then you have this random episode 12 that relates to absolutely nothing that has just come before. And I found that really frustrating. Netflix. I don't know if this was a decision by Netflix. Seriously, I have no idea. If anybody has some better information about this, please let me know. But I found this frustrating that Netflix did this, because like I said, the show technically ended at episode 11, and then here comes episode 12, which really has nothing to do with anything, and you have just gone on this 11 episode journey in season 2, this emotional kind of devastation almost, you know, and this emotional catharsis at times. And this bonus episode really kind of ruined the flow and the pacing of the rest of the season, strangely enough. So this is how I would consume this show. If you have never watched this show before, I would watch the entirety of season 1, including the final 2 bonus episodes, and then I would skip to season 2, episode 12, which is the bonus episode of the season. I would put that with the other bonus episodes that are at the very end of season 1, if that makes sense. And then when I'm done with that episode, I would go directly into season 2 and experience that journey from start to finish without having that random episode 12 ending, which doesn't really do anything or add anything. Does anybody else feel that way? Seriously, if you have watched this show, do you think that's how you would watch the show? Like, if you were to re-watch the show, I personally would do that. Like I said, watch all of season 1, including the bonus episodes. And then when you're done with season 1, watch that episode 12 bonus episode from 2, and then head into season 2. Seriously, I think that would be my preferred method if I were to rewatch the show. Plus, just recommending it to just a new beginner to the show, if you've never watched the show before and you're about to maybe start it, that's how I would personally watch it, seriously. Especially if you don't want kind of that emotional ending to get affected in any sort of way. Now, another great aspect of the show is definitely just the wild, extreme cast of characters and actors playing those characters. Like I said, this show is a great blend of history and literature and mythology. So you have all these great actors and actresses coming in and portraying some of these iconic figures. And yeah, you guys, don't get me started on this stacked cast. Oh my God, seriously. Me being someone, because I am a huge lover of all things British television, and for the most part, this show is primarily a big, huge British cast, you know, with some other people popping up in there, you know, American actors and whatnot. But yeah, the bulk of this cast is British, and just actor after actor, actress after actress just popping up on this show. I was just like, how the hell did this show get these actors? Yeah, just to kind of run down really quickly some of the random cast of characters and actors you're going to get on this show. Like Patton Oswalt. Yeah, guys, you got Patton Oswalt playing a talking bird, which was great. I loved Matthew the Raven. He was just so wonderful. You got Mark Hamill, of all people. Yeah, guys, Mark Hamill. And he's playing like this talking pumpkin head scarecrow, and I adored this guy. Yeah, Jenna Coleman, all my British TV lovers out there and Doctor Who fans. Yeah, Jenna Coleman pops up on this show. She's playing Joanna Constantine, you know, like Constantine from like the DC comics, and like the character that Keanu Reeves played in that one movie, you know. And let me here, can I have a tangent really quick? why is it pronounced Constantine? I don't really like that pronunciation. I just like saying Constantine. Is it just me? I prefer the pronunciation of Constantine. And whenever they would say Constantine, it just kind of grated on my nerves sometime. But I digress. Either way, Jenna Coleman played Joanna Constantine, which I absolutely loved her on this show. And then, yeah, I just wrote down a bunch of random actors, you guys. Yet you have like Rufus Sewell popping up randomly in an episode. You have Stephen Fry, who makes an appearance every so often. Douglas Booth, Colin Morgan, Gwendolyn Christie of Game of Thrones, Charles Dance from Game of Thrones. Seriously, how many people from Game of Thrones are on this show? Because you also have Jack Gleason on this show, and Freddie Fox is also on the show, who's on House of the Dragon currently. So yeah, this cast is just ridiculous. It's like each episode, there's always somebody popping up on this show, and I was totally here for it, and I loved it. Now, before I do head into the character of Morpheus, because I'm saving him for last, let me talk about two of my personal favorite characters on this show, you guys. Playing the character called the Corinthian, played by Bold Holbrook. Wow, what a villain, you guys. The Corinthian is kind of the main primary villain of season 1. He runs around. He's described as being like a nightmare, because Morpheus is like the king of dreams, and he can create nightmares, obviously. So the Corinthian is like this nightmare dream product, something like that. It's hard to describe unless you watch the show. And yeah, he's like really terrifying and scary, but there's like this charm and charisma to him that's really like unnerving. And his eyes, you guys, because he's always wearing glasses, like sunglasses, and yeah, when his glasses are off, he has like teeth. There's like teeth in his eyes, you guys, and like he rips out the eyes of other people, and like he puts them in his own eyes because they're just teeth, and like he eats the eyeballs and stuff like that. It's something really bizarre and crazy. This is the type of show it is, okay? I absolutely love the character of the Corinthian on this show, and yeah, Bold Holbrook was just spectacular and wonderful in that performance. I'm definitely gonna miss that character. And then, yeah, my second favorite character, I definitely have to talk about the character of Hob, played by Ferdinand Kingsley, you guys, the son of the great Ben Kingsley. Hob, as I said, played by Ferdinand Kingsley. Hobbs is this character that you're introduced to kind of in the middle of season 1, and Morpheus meets him like in... God, what century does he meet that man in? I'm trying to remember, like the 1400s, something like that. And Hob is a character that he wants to be immortal, so Morpheus makes this deal like, okay, you're going to have immortality, and we're going to meet at this same pub once every 100 years. And that's how their relationship grows and blossoms over time. Is, yeah, Hob and Morpheus, they meet once every 100 years at this same pub, and seriously, that is like my favorite episode out of all 2 seasons. That particular episode is my favorite episode. And yeah, you get to see Hob and Morpheus's relationship each century, and how that kind of grows and develops and whatnot. But yeah, seriously, that episode, my favorite episode, Hob is probably literally my favorite character. If I had to pick one character, it would probably definitely be Hob. Yeah, the bromance between Hob and Morpheus, wonderful. They have it's a platonic relationship, you guys, but if they wanted to make it a romantic relationship, I would not have complained. Okay, so let's move on to the character of Morpheus, or Dream. He has like many names on this show, but you could either call him Dream or Morpheus, whatever you feel like calling him. Played by the wonderful Tom Sturridge. Yeah, guys, talk about spot on perfect casting. Even people who have read the comics, because I have seen images of what Morpheus looks like in the comics, but yeah, even comic book readers, I think it's pretty universal that just about everybody loves the casting of Tom Sturridge, because yeah, what I have seen from the comics, you know, the image of him, he's tall, he's thin, he's pale, and Tom Sturridge just totally is this character. His look and design, the voice especially, you guys, I think the voice especially is the most important aspect of his character. But yeah, Tom Sturridge, the way he's designed and how he looks in this show, he's tall, he dresses all in black, his hair is dark and kind of has this kind of feathery look to it, and yeah, his voice, it's such a kind of a creepy, eerie voice that can lull you to sleep. But once again, he is the king of dreams, if you will. And even his voice, there's something about his voice that Tom Sturridge does so wonderfully well that it lulls you. It lulls you. You can just easily maybe fall asleep to his voice. Let him read a book to you, and you can go right to sleep. And yeah, the character of Morpheus, or Dream, however you want to call him, Morpheus is he's an endless being, if you will. He has lived for centuries. I think he's pretty much lived since the dawn of time, is how we're supposed to kind of interpret it. He is a being that is incredibly ancient. He has seen and done everything. He has experienced everything. He's a really enigmatic character, and he's very mysterious. You're never really quite sure what to kind of make about him sometimes. His character, I think, can sometimes come across as really cold, maybe even calculating. He could come across as humorless. He does have his own particular sense of humor that is really well done, because he doesn't crack a lot of jokes. He doesn't really smile very often, but when he does have those little jokes, when he does crack a smile, it's like it's done at just the right opportune moment that really means something. And yet Tom Sturridge, seriously, he is like the king of like just really subtle facial expressions. I kid you not. He is so good at just capturing so much with maybe the twist of a mouth or the raising of an eyebrow or just something that's in his eyes. He is just so good at a subtle expression. It's so hard to explain unless you kind of watch him in action. But he can give so much just through the eyes and the facial expressions alone, without having a lot of dialogue. He's a character that I think I found that he can be a little self-absorbed on occasion. He could be prone to anger a lot of times, like quick to anger. Even like when someone maybe insults him or there's some sort of slight, he's really quick to kind of view things in that regard, like you're insulting me, when maybe it's not meant to come across as an insult. Like for instance, going back to the character of Hob, the relationship between Hob and Morpheus, for instance, there's like a scene in that particular episode where Hob is trying to break down Morpheus, like, why is it that you're always meeting me century after century? And I think it has to do with friendship, for instance. And Morpheus, because he is this eternal, endless being, he takes that as an insult, like, you dare to think that I come to meet you for friendship? Like he sees that as an insult, but Hob doesn't mean it as an insult, like things like that, that Morpheus doesn't quite interpret the same way as like just a normal human would interpret. So yeah, Morpheus is just such a fascinating, wonderful, I think, nuanced character. He doesn't really do or say much sometimes, but when he does, it's really impactful and it means something. He's a character that's prone to flaws more than anything. It's definitely a weakness of his flaws and his inability to change, I think. I think the nature of change is a big theme of this show in regards to him, that he has to kind of learn to grow and accept his flaws and his insecurities, and be willing to kind of put himself out there for other people and kind of listen to other people outside of his own viewpoint, So yeah, far and away, Tom Sturridge definitely kind of the big highlight of this show for sure. His performance, yeah, it's like I'm so sad we're not going to get like another season with him in this role. The show is over, and it's just so sad. Yeah, I would have loved for the show to have gone on for multiple seasons, but there is a conclusion. If you're worried about this show ending in such a way that there's no conclusion, don't worry. There is definitely a very proper, satisfying conclusion to the show that's not going to leave you hanging or have some sort of cliffhanger feel to it. So you guys, I think that's all I had to say about the Sandman. My overall thoughts: I love this show. I definitely would love to rewatch it, like from start to finish, because there was a huge gap between season 1 and 2, and like I said, I kind of had my minor issues with season 1 that I didn't quite understand it entirely. But I feel like if I were to rewatch it, kind of knowing the context of what's going to be going down, like in season 2, for instance, I feel like season 1, I would have a far greater appreciation for it. So it's definitely the type of show I would like to binge again. from start to finish, and I think I might have a far more enjoyable time with season 1, even though I already liked it to begin with, you know. Once again, it's kind of hard to explain. But yeah, I'm definitely curious your thoughts and opinions on the show in general. If you love the show, if you hate the show, if you're a comic reader, if you're not a comic reader. Seriously, if you're a comic reader, how would you recommend I consume getting these books? Because I have come to realize there are a lot of miscellaneous items within the world of the Sandman, and I'm a little confused like where I'm supposed to start before I sit and waste the money on things that maybe I don't need in collecting this series. But yeah, let me know how you guys felt about this series, and feel free to talk about spoilers with me. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye guys.